Hello and welcome. Now today I'm going to be showing you how to change your water pump in your Toyota Matrix or Pontiac Vibe. Behind me is 2004 Pontiac Vibe. Because this is Vibe, I'm using the AC Delco parts, and this is the one I'm using. So let's get to work. Now of course, first thing we want to do is make sure the car is cool before we do any of this work, and we're going to want to make sure and drain the radiator. I already got the catch pan below it. Now we're going to drain it. It's right here on the driver's side of the radiator. Way down here, you'll see this tab at the bottom that you can twist. Twist it, and you'll see that once we get the plug out, you release the pressure off the cap, and it will start draining. That way it's probably the easiest way to do it. That way you don't get all the antifreeze on your hand when you drain it. Alright, now you'll have to do all this. I gotta change the radiator anyway, so I'm gonna be pulling the electric fans and the radiator out. I already have a video on changing the radiator, so you can watch the first part of that and see how to remove the radiator if you want to make more space. Now I also recommend, if you're draining the coolant in any way for anything, it's probably best to replace multiple things that involve the coolant system while you're here, like the hoses, etc., anything that involves that, because you don't want to drain your coolant that often because it's expensive. All right, now the water pump is this pulley right here that's just below the alternator, and it's basically in between the AC and the alternator to the side a little bit right there. Well, we got to come over here, get on our tensioner right there, which this one's an 18 millimeter. Factory I think was 19. This was a replacement that changed at 18 for some reason. We're gonna get on there, loosen the belt tension, and remove. I'm just gonna try to remove the belt only from around the water pump. That way everything else is still on, and I can just put the belt back on easy without taking the whole belt off. That is on Titan. I am gonna use a cheater bar with this little wrench because there's not a lot of space side to side. Pull it towards me slowly. You feel the tension coming off. And just gonna go ahead and reach around, pull that off. Now I can get to the water pump. All right, so here's the water pump. Sits in there about like that, okay? You can see where your bolts are. Now it's gonna be kind of fun, because I really don't want to jack the engine up, loosen the motor mounts to get to that bolt, which it could be easier, but I'm going to try not to. Now, a new O-ring, it only comes with 4 new bolts, so the hard part about trying to film this repair is the space. You can see the water pump pulley right here. You can kind of see some of these bolts, so I'm going to try my best. Alright, like I said, it's going to be hard to get everything.
I can't see anything, I only see your phone.
Alright, like I said, it's going to be hard to get any of this, but I'm going to go with this top bolt right here first. It's the easiest one to get to. Let's break that loose real quick. So there's about 6 of these. Hopefully we don't have to pull the engine up to get to the other 2. They are going to be a little tricky and hard to see is the problem. You can always reference the new water pump like I showed you to reference where the bolts are. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just go ahead and loosen all these up. Now I'm using a deep well to act as an extension instead of putting an extension on, because extension is probably getting my weight and I barely have any room. I probably have a 1/4 of an inch space from the bolt
To the darkness, can't see shit.
But I'm basically going around feeling.
You want to talk about your feelings? I'm sorry.
You can see I'm kind of blindly guessing. So I'm going to take all these out. And we'll stack them up nice and neat and see how many we got and if we missed any.
Look at that reverse bar right here.
Which luckily, they're really, once you break them loose, they're not too hard to get off. I got 4 right now, but if you notice that that one is a different size, so we need to take note on that one. Of which one that was. And that's the side-by-side ones. The lower one is a shorter one. Now getting the one under the pulley or below the pulley is being a challenge. I said we're going in blind, so I'm just feeling for it. Now one could jack it up, the engine, put a jack under the engine with a board to protect the oil pan and spread it across, the pressure across, take the motor mounts off, raise it up, and then completely remove the motor mounts out of your way and maybe do this a little easier, but we're just going to do it this way. That's 5. And number 6 is right here. Which understandably is probably going to be harder to start the screws back in, but shouldn't be too bad. Okay, now up here you can actually see that I went in a clockwise rotation taking them out, and you see the links. You got 4 of the same and then these 2 different ones. Keep that in mind. If you take them out like I did, where they are, well, if I can actually get this out. I'm gonna have to turn it a little bit. Alright, I didn't think about that. Oh, I actually got it. Now for the O-ring, we need to get it out to put the new one in.
Zoom in, is it okay?
I'm using a little There we go. I'm using this little pick tool, and I'm going to pick under there and pull that out, and then push the new one in. So we'll just put that right there. We can put a little oil around it, where you put it in and pop it in. Push it in, and then we can put the water pump on. Right. Apologize for the darkness, but here we go. We're going to try to slide that thing back in there however we can. I said, unless you want to pick the whole engine up, all that good stuff. I don't remember how I got it out of there. One for the propeller being caught on something. I think I got it. There we go. Now we gotta remember how we line it up. Make sure the O-ring is still in place. I'll do that real quick. And then go ahead and put it in there. All right, the fun part, and it's getting dark, I apologize, is playing mechanic yoga with the bolts, because I'm going to have to put one hand on the back side of the motor mount and hold the pump while my other hand gets that first bolt started. Now the first one started. Now with the first one started, we can find the second hole. I can't see because the camera's in my way. Okay. There. All right. And get it started too. Go down the third hole, and by now they should all be lined up. We can go ahead and just put them in easy. I'm going to go ahead and do is snug this one down. And snug that one down. Basically snug these three down where the pump's closer to the block as far as I can with my hands. Which this is just not much space. See what I'm doing? Go down the next hole. Now remember, if you're having trouble figuring out where the hole is, use the old pump as a reference. Look at the old pump, and then you can go, oh, that's where it is. It is a little hard to get this one started right here. That's just under the pulley, but it is doable. Like I said, use the old pump as a reference to where they are. You don't have to do this route. You can raise the engine if you want. This last one is probably the hardest one. It is a short one, and it's close to the idler pulley itself. Basically, I just use my finger to feel for the hole and then guide it in. Yeah, I know it's a dirty joke, but whatever. All right. Wish y'all could see that, but there's legitimately no room on this car. So now what I'm gonna do is go around, now that I got them decently snug down by hand, and I'm just gonna go ahead and snug them down now. And yeah, I'm snugging them down clockwise right now for the sole reason just because I'm snugging. I'm not tightening it down. I'm just making sure the screws are down where they should be. And it is easier to tighten these with a deep well. Now I'm going to go around and just make sure they're snug with the ratchet before I crisscross. The little crisscross pattern like you would on a wheel. See, now that one, I snugged the others down. It's not as snug as it was. And I am sure there are torque specs, but we're just going to tighten it down.
It sounds so musical when you hit it.
Now it's just going to be just as fun as it was loosening them off. Just searching for them and finding them.
You're blocking all the light now. I can't really see what you're doing.
Sure, the comments say that too.
I'm sorry.
But all right, I'm snugging down the last one. The last one's snug. So now I'm tying it down about I'll probably go right there, which I went probably half a turn. All right, got it about half a turn. And now I'm gonna just, in a crisscrossing pattern, go back over the other ones, get them about that. Now the odd thing about the crisscross pattern is you got those two closer together. It's not like a good star pattern. So if you don't fully get it in a nice crisscross pattern, it probably doesn't really matter that much. That O-ring will take care of it. Now, unfortunately, I want to go half a turn, but I'm going little small increments just because of lack of space in some spots. All right, now we're done with the water pump. Now we put the belt back on, which what I'm gonna do right here, right now, is I'm gonna pull the belt tight and go around the water pump now, leaving the alternator off. That way, I can hold the tension here with one hand and then pull the tension off the tensioner and slip this over the alternator. It's the easiest way I found to do it. All right, now I'm gonna wrench back over here with my leverage to pull it. So I'm gonna hold on to the belt right here in front of the alternator. Slowly pull down. And I get closer, closer until we get enough slack to pop it on the alternator. Release it. Now, what we want to do on this, especially on this because it's hard to see, we want to take the time to make sure the belt is fully on contact where it's supposed to be on everything before we move on. All right, so the car is right here running, and basically, and let it run. Of course, you know, hook up the radiator, all the hoses, everything you disconnected. Add your antifreeze. Fill it up the best you can, let it run for a little bit, stop it, let air out, do it again, until you get all the air out, until it's actually doing right. Because usually you just gotta burp the system, and that can be kind of tricky. Let it run for a little bit, pop the cap, let it pop, you know. I tried letting it run completely at first until it got up to temp, just with the cap off and just trying to add. Then do it completely, then did it with the cap on. It had some pressure, it burped it out, and then finished filling it back up, let it run again, and it finally got to where it is. So now I know this video is not the best in sight-wise because I wasn't about to pull the engine up just to get to that, because I could do it without raising the engine. Some people don't want to raise the engine, and that's completely understandable. Keep in mind it's going to be a little more difficult with those bolts. Now, maybe in the future I'll do a video where I raise the engine so you can see a little bit better. But for now, how it's done without raising the engine, it is completely doable. My suggestion is, while it's cold, wash it off with water. That way all the antifreeze is off everything. Then, you know, add your antifreeze, all that good stuff. Get it circulating right and everything, then driving it. And then parking it somewhere else, check for leaks again. Biggest thing is always check for leaks when you're done, just in case you don't want no surprises later. Hope this information proved helpful. As always, thanks for watching.